Namaskar, India, and good morning, good afternoon, Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sangeeta Singh, and on behalf of AsiaOne magazine and URS International Media House, I would like to welcome all our wonderful panelists here on WebTalks Series 9. And alongside, a big hello to all our followers on AsiaOne magazine page on our virtual world. Thank you so much for joining us week after week. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we know that times are changing, and which is how a very timely, a very resourceful, and a soothing discussion session we bring to you. Well, all of us know that in these times of crisis, the COVID-19, when there is so much happening around us, when we are actually facing the VUCA world here at AsiaOne with its web series, rather web talks. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been trying to bring across great minds, great leaders, great ideas, and paneling with us, discussing with us, sharing their experiences, sharing their great thoughts with us. So it has been, all in all, a thought-provocative platform. And yet again, ladies and gentlemen, today we bring you a very, very pertinent and interesting topic. Yes, competition or collaboration. What is the need of the hour? While all of us know that competition is actually the inherent, the real nature of a human being. But then somewhere, while we talk about that, it could be unhealthy for all of us and it may kind of hold us back from bringing out our full potential, our great potential. Somewhere it can also be incredibly fun as well, right? If we really do it in the right spirit. On the other hand, when we talk about collaboration, ladies and gentlemen, it is all about progressing together. It's not about a particular human or a particular person. Rather, it's about the culture of the entire staff, the organization, the system, the department that you're working. It's about a unified force. Well, competition might just create wealth, but when we talk about collaboration, it creates a lot of innovation. Innovation is the base of any kind of collaboration. So let's really see, what do our speakers have to talk about competition and collaboration? But before I bring them on this wonderful webinar, ladies and gentlemen, yes, there is the great news coming in from AsiaOne House. As all of us know that AsiaOne is an international media house and we do research-based listing and featuring of brands and leaders. We feature brands and leaders on television, in print, online platforms, and hence we cover all the three formats of media. Like I said, a great news coming in. We are pleased to announce that we have launched a television series called Greatest Brands and Leaders 2019-20 in association with CNBC TV 18. Ladies and gentlemen, which all of us know is the #1 English business news channel of the country. We will feature success stories of brands and leaders in form of TV episodes mentioning why they have been chosen as one of the greatest brands and leaders of the country. So keep watching this page just to let all of you know that this TV series is commencing from 30th May 2020 on CNBC TV 18. And on that note, let me tell you, in Mumbai, it's a bright day. We are post the epicenter. There is a lot happening. I know there is the lockdown 4, it's all extended, but I actually see a lot of people walking their dogs out, their kids around, they're going out for essentials. It's much more nicer, much more eased out. So there is a lot of optimism is what I will say, and not positivity, but I will say optimism because positive kind of scares you off. So yes, with that, it's nice and wonderful to get started on web series, our Web Talks Series 9. Let me introduce you to our wonderful eminent personalities, panelists who joined us here. To begin with, we have the gorgeous, beautiful actress, ladies and gentlemen, who simply brightened my laptop screen the moment she just appeared. Yes, I'm talking about none other than Miss Madhoo, the wonderful actress. Dil hai chota sa. I can't sing and I'm not going to try, but this song has made a way to all our hearts, right? So we'd like to welcome her. Ma'am, how are you doing? And thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for such a lovely introduction. And most importantly, thank you for inviting me on this lovely panel. I'm really, really proud and happy and privileged to be a part of this wonderful minds. And I'm really excited to be here today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And let me introduce you to Dr. Ajeenkya D.Y. Patil. He is the Chairman D.Y. Patil Group and President Chancellor Ajeenkya D.Y. Patil University. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, Sangeeta. Very happy to join all my illustrious friends. And you have a great setup here. So looking forward to the session. Thank you, AsiaOne.
And sir, I did make a mention that you're looking wonderful, nice and dashing in pink, and I love that. So thank you. And with that, let me also welcome Mr. Sudheer Kumar Sidda. He is the Managing Director, Jyothi Granite Exports India Private Limited. A very warm and hearty welcome to you, sir, on WebTalks. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thank you. Fine. Thank you for this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Also, let me welcome Kiran Bhujun. He is the Director, Vice-Chancellor, Amity Institute of Higher Education, Mauritius.
Good morning, Sangeeta. Good morning from Mauritius. We're still forenoon. It's a pleasure being here, and it's a pleasure being part of such an esteemed panel. And hopefully we can discuss and have some wonderful, outcome out of this.
So I have been to Mauritius, and I must tell you, I just love all the sugarcane fields right there. So beautiful. The color green is actually so infectious out there. Thank you. So I hope everything is all okay in Mauritius.
Yeah, it is. We are still on lockdown, but we are getting out of it.
The entire world is. But the best part is we're all post the epicenter now. So we're trying to flatten the curve that we all have been talking about. With that, let me welcome Pradeep V. Mahajan. He is the Chairman, Managing Director, Stemrx Bioscience Solutions Private Limited. Sir, how are you doing? Dr. Pradeep Mahajan. So you need to just unmute.
I made it. I removed the mute.
Yes.
Thank you to be inviting me on this great platform. When I have been associated with AsiaOne for the long time, more than 50 years probably. And the promotional, particularly for the brand activities. And now what we have started on the platform for innovators in this COVID time is a very, very positive sign. We are looking for some innovations to come in to overcome the COVID-19. Thank you for me being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that appreciation. Really means a lot to all of us. And with that, I'd also like to, I couldn't get a chance to say hello to one of our panelists, but here she is with us, Jahnsi Rani, Vedachalam, Managing Director, George Skincare. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hi, I'm doing really great. Thank you so much for inviting me for this prep talk. And I'm really honored to be a part of this.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, we also have Mahesh G Tucker, Director General FIDC.
Good afternoon, Sangeeta. Good afternoon, friends. As you know, I represent the financial sector, and you see a lot of upheavals in the financial sector today. And a lot of sectors, manufacturing or servicing, are looking for the collaboration with financial sector. And as we progress, we will discuss how we would really collaborate and help the country and economy go further. Thanks a lot to AsiaOne, Rajat, Sandeep, Sangeeta, all of them. Wish you all the best, friends.
Thank you, sir. We are really waiting to hear a lot from you. And with that, let me bring on, a woman whose smile actually radiates to your heart, ladies and gentlemen. I have been in love with her the moment I have seen her on the screen, Dr. Srimathy Kesan. She's so much full of positivity. So, ma'am, here, see, I knew you'd be laughing all the way through. So that's the best part about you. Ma'am, I can't hear you, ma'am. I can't hear you, ma'am.
What a way to bring in, fill this entire moment with smiles. Oh my God, amazing. You're too good. Lovely. Good afternoon, friends. I'm super duper happy being here. And I guess we're going to have a great time talking. And at the end of talking, we make some meaning out of this whole talking.
Absolutely. We are simply, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be our endeavor to keep finding lots of meaning. And with that, we have Dr. Vikas Sharma. He's the President, International Academic and Management Association. So very warm and hearty welcome to you, sir.
Good morning, Sangeeta. I would like to thank AsiaOne for inviting me for this session. I do hope that we have a very nice and interactive one.
Absolutely. We will have a very resourceful session. And with that, last but not the least, Jaysheela Padmanabhan, founder and CEO, Prescribed Healthcare Solutions. A very warm and hearty welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sangeeta, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm quite excited because I think I'll be learning a bit more today in this one hour. So looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. For the first guest that I'd like to invite to talk and to get started on our web series, Talk 9, is Madhoo. So, ma'am, yes, before we get started, a little bit, from you, that how do you feel to be here on this AsiaOne platform? And then I'm going to put forth my. Ma'am, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, hi. Sangeeta, this is me? You're
Yes.
talking to me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So firstly, once again, I would like to say hello. And I'm really smiling from my heart. And thank you for the doctor. And she's wearing a yellow top, just like how the mood is today, all yellow and bright and shiny. And thank you for creating this environment and this energy at the beginning of it all. And the credit goes to you, Sangeeta, because you're so effervescent and it feels beautiful to be a part of this. And most of them have a title doctor and doctor this and doctor that. That's one regret, if at all, if I have any in my life, that I don't have a doctor to my name. But I'm so happy to be a part of this panel that is so intelligent and intellectual. Because, as an artist, I get invited to film and film platforms, film fair or something like that. But to be a part of this mind thinking group, it's an honor and it's a privilege that I can share my thought as well. So thank you, AsiaOne, and thank you, Sangeeta, and thank you to all the doctors with whom I'm here today.
Thank you.
Firstly, I would like to say the theme, competition versus collaboration, is the most something that I think about all the time, because we somehow think that competition is so negative. We try to teach our children, we try to teach ourselves that why not to compete, because it creates a kind of vicious sentiment that we want to win, we want to beat, and it's always about defeating somebody else. It's always about seeing somebody else fall so we can be better. So in a world that's full of competition, we try to think that that's not a virtue. But I truly believe that everything in our life is the meaning that we attach to it. If you think of that, anything in life is the meaning that we give to it. So when you're resting, if you say, I'm relaxing and I'm rebooting, that becomes positive. But if you're resting and putting your feet up and say, I'm so lazy, it becomes negative. So in the same way, competition, when you say, I'm going to compete, I'm going to defeat you, I'm going to beat you, it has a very vicious, negative, almost bitter taste to it, because that's angry, that makes you insecure, that makes you self-conscious, and your low self-esteem, everything comes to the fore. But if you say that competition is my benchmark, there's somebody who's running at this speed, or somebody who's done such amazing thing, and I'm in that field and I want to get there. So it's a goal. It's a goal setting. It's motivational, and it can help you in your journey of mastery over yourself. So, it helps you better yourself. So the same thing, you use the competition as your benchmark. And yes, sometimes you may better it. Sometimes you may come close to it. Sometimes somebody else can get the better of it, and you must have the courage which you can train yourself to clap for the person. So that is how I would like to see. I wouldn't want to have a world with no competition. I wouldn't like to have a world where there are no races. I wouldn't want to have a school or a college where you can't be graded, because that will only make you complacent. Somebody doing better than you, what is the use of running a race alone? You need people to run with so you can measure yourself. It's not about the other person. So that's the way I would like to think about competition. And cooperation is, first cooperation you have to have is the heart, your mind, your body to cooperate, to work as one. That is the first sense of cooperation. And then if you are in a team sport or patriotism, if you're, when you're working together towards a common goal, the common goal can be an opposite team, it can be an opposite anything. But if you are, working Even if you're running on a alone, even if you're playing an individual sport or anything individual, if it's about your individual ranking, your performance, it can never be done individual. You need parents who love you, who make you feel supported, and who make you feel that no matter what grades you get, you are still loved and you still belong. So then you have the hands of your teachers, you have your hands of your peers. So how can you ever perform alone? Whether you're in a competitive world, or whether you're competing, you're in a competition, whether you're in a team sport or whether you're in an individual sport, whether you're looking at your own self-performance or you're looking at a collective, you always need people and love and support. So instead of looking at something as that we have to be this way or that way, we need both a healthy amount of cooperation and a healthy amount of competition to succeed. And what does success mean? That's a whole new thought. Success is not about how other people perceive you. It's about how you, because your success only you know. Every moment when you felt lazy, every moment when you felt depressed or demotivated, that moment when you wake up and you still do something is your moment of success. The grand success that we talk about, that the world sees, is a whole new different picture, which of course is wonderful to have that kind of validation and acknowledgement. But these are all the meanings that we attach, that only if other people applaud for you, you're successful. So the first lesson we learn is we cooperate with our mind, body and heart. We cooperate with our friends and family and our support system, and we compete over our own lower base system, and we come together and feel successful. And you are successful on an individual level. Everybody who comes in contact with you feels successful, and that's how joy spreads. Starts from within.
Thank you, ma'am. You've so passionately spoken about competition and collaboration. And of course, being in the film industry, to an extent, you've seen competition very, very closely to yourself. And as very rightly said, the kind of sentiment that you attach to competition, the kind of emotion that you attach to competition makes us healthy or unhealthy. And absolutely talking about cooperation or collaboration like we are talking today, yes, it's a great collaboration that you see between your body, your mind and your soul that will make you more competitive and competitive in a better way. So thank you. It was wonderful listening to you. And with that, I'm going to be bringing on our next speaker, Dr. Ajeenkya Patil here with us. Need to understand from you, what according to you are some of the challenges, that working in collaboration can bring, and what are the benefits? So what are the challenges and benefits when we try to work in collaboration?
Firstly, I was very happy to hear Madhoo say and give an emotional quotient to this whole process of competition and collaboration. So I think that's very important, because when you're faced with such threats, you truly feel that what is your existence here for, whether it's just to achieve success in terms of how people rate you, or really it's a satisfaction within you. So I think her opening statements were fantastic. So thanks for giving that positive spin to this lovely talk. So we are talking about competition and collaboration, and I'm happy you took up both these topics, because currently the crisis we are facing would definitely involve more of collaboration rather than competition, because businesses themselves face the threat of extinction, because there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of unambiguous procedures that are coming in, and really businesses are not ready for what's going to happen in the future. We can plan for the best, hope for the best, but given the circumstances, very difficult to visualize and analyze the future. So definitely collaboration will be the need of the hour, because what as businesses we do is we learn every moment, we learn different techniques, we learn different methodologies, and we constantly evolve to better our performances. But what this virus has taught us is that we need to react immediately. What otherwise would have been a corporate training program or would have been a process that any corporation follows, this virus has literally got things to our feet, where we as humans need to evolve very quickly and think of the possibilities of how businesses can survive. And it's just not about businesses surviving, it's also created a lot of pressure on industry, pressure on employment, job opportunities. And I feel there will be a lot of turmoil. We always spoke about technology disrupting jobs, technology taking over jobs. And lo and behold, we have a situation where the job disruption has already started. So people will need to be retrained. People will need to understand that the way they've been working in the formative years has to change, because the jobs are evolving. Working from home is becoming a new norm, and this is a classic example of how we can collaborate. I'll speak from experience from our universities and schools, whereas we faced a huge crisis in terms of how we'll operate, because not many of our teachers are tech savvy, not many of our team members are tech savvy. We were discussing the implementation of an online platform. We've been planning that for a number of years. But what this virus has done is hastened that process, and we very quickly scaled up our operations and got people to offer these online classes. We also could use resources from around the country, not only within our system, but many resources from around the country came and collaborated to offer these online training programs. So we really had to innovate, but competition will certainly change. So, but what I'm afraid is when we talk of competition and collaboration, we should not forget about monopolies, because there's a threat to existing businesses when everything is so centralized and everything is so dependent on technology. I worry about small players who would not be able to cope up with the technological giants, which would have the resources, which would have the power, and which would have the reach to reach many more individuals at a cheaper cost and maybe in a more effective way. So it's a thin balance between collaboration and monopolies.
And sir, specifically to the education industry, do you think collaboration is possible there, because it's very competitive in itself as an industry? So how would you just enlighten us on that?
So I feel it certainly is a very big issue that brick and mortar establishments are facing, because brick and mortar establishments have invested heavily into the infrastructure. Right. Many of them have recovered these infrastructure costs, but many of them have just implemented them. So there's heavy debt on many of the institutions. So to keep those going at the same time, collaborating with other individuals, and also there's the availability of teachers, because again, I'm talking about the job market. Right. In case we are able to run the programs with a few number of teachers and reach out to more number of pupils, then definitely there's a disruption in the way we sort of disrupt jobs. Mm-hmm. But yes, plenty more resources are available compared to what otherwise were available in a location. For example, if we have a school in Mumbai or we have a university in Pune, one teacher could essentially teach a multi-classroom setup. Technology exists at, for example, the Zoom meeting that we are doing currently, which is being broadcast to thousands or millions, if not. So it is giving access to a lot of resources, but I also fear what will happen to the people who are not meaningfully employed. And Madhoo spoke very passionately about the human quotient of this whole factor. So I also feel that legislations will need to come in more quickly than technology can evolve, because if legislations don't come in quickly, then there may be a big turmoil in terms of proprietary as to who operates, how they operate. And so it might sound a bit like the license Raj, but I feel we need to go back a little bit, because we have to look at job security. But collaboration definitely will help in terms of offering better quality, better implementations of programs. And it will give us access to a vast number of resources, which otherwise were kept in the back burner, because there was always a face-to-face interaction when it came to a brick-mortar establishment. But what technology has forced us is look at other alternatives, which we didn't look at very seriously. But there is so much talent, there is so much resource available around the world, within India, within the rural parts of India. And those are all coming out of the closet. So we may see a shift in the way people work, and the job profile of people will change.
At least in this crisis, we've seen a lot of decentralization happen, which I think is very, very important for all of us, which is also a way forward. Either we talk about collaboration or we talk about competition. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas and thoughts with us. And with that, I'd now like to bring in the center, Mr. Sudheer Kumar Sidda. So, sir, well, the question that I'd like to pose to you is that with more of focus shifting to indigenous and local products, what opportunities lie ahead for your sector when it comes to developing collaboration?
Hi, a very good afternoon all the panelists. Hope everyone here and all the family members are all keeping safe. A brief introduction about myself. I come from business family background, did MBA from Madras University. We are inquiring of Granite 3 decades. Coming to the topic, whether competition versus collaboration works. Coming to the Granite industry, we are always collaborating with the Chinese. We sell a lot of rublaks to them and buy a lot of granite tools from the Chinese. The Italians who were the real masters of the stone technology, but China has really worked towards more economical solutions and was successful in providing the cheaper solutions. We believe that we need competition as well as collaborate each other, and that should be a fair deal. The key results to competition and collaboration should be reciprocated by all the stakeholders. We are coming to question 1. With more of the focus shifting up to indigenous and local products, what opportunities lie ahead of your sector when it comes to developing collaborations? We are a mining of granite company and we are more dependent on construction segment. We export a lot of raw products to China and finished product to the rest of the world, more focused on the USA, Canada, Europe and the Middle East. Most of the countries except of Europe are functioning normally. Most of our granite processing equipment is either Italian or Chinese. We have a bundle of opportunities into the sector. We import a lot of machinery for our processing industry. For example, many ancillary products such as segments, cutting wire ropes or cutting stones and other polishing products we can also produce. All the products I am talking about and we are to some extent, but there is a huge potential too. All we need and the need of the hour, the government support in creating such manufacturing clusters relating to specific industry needs, provide them subsidies required and promote. China do away with a minimum 30% subsidy for such ancillary manufacturing units. I wish our government to take such initiatives to promote manufacturing by creating clusters for the sectors like furniture, textile and garments, medical equipment, etc. And coming to the question 2, how can one ensure that market monopoly does not become a reality if most people are working in collaborations? Market monopoly and working in collaborations are two different terms. If you are working in collaborations, the market can never monopolize you. Can take the granite or stone industry, as on today, a lot of our people have started manufacturing the ancillary tools for the stone processing. We are producing these tools with collaboration from Italian and Chinese. We have come to a level where we can manufacture these by self. As said before, if there is a proper support and encouragements from the governments, we can achieve and also can monopolize after some point of time. Hope I am able to answer the questions. We had a really thank the team behind for organizing this discussion. I appreciate all their efforts to make this happen. I also request everyone to stay safe and be strong at these difficult and testing times for all of us. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for very beautifully that how you in your business have been collaborating with China and the Italians. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll agree with me and all my panelists will agree with me when we talk about competition. We've always been the east to the west. Competition has been so conspicuous all the time. And today we see that how Asia as the subcontinent has actually emerged more in collaboration, and that is what we just heard from our speaker here, from Mr. Sidda. And with that, let me bring on our next speaker, Jahnsi Vedachalam. So, ma'am, once again, a warm welcome. And the question that I have for you is that yes, though your industry might be one of the most competitive in today's world, what are your thoughts on collaboration and how do you think the collaboration will help you in expanding the business?
Hi, thank you for having me here, and I'm really honored to be a part of this panel. And so yes, competition is more about winning, wherein collaboration is more about growth. So like for any brand, growth is like really important, and it also increases our business velocity. Like when it comes to skincare, we can share our customer base like by collaborating with influencers, and they have like really innovative ideas, be it a model or even including like other businesses. For example, like at a small scale business, we can collaborate with each other, and we can help each other grow more, and we can come up with new innovative ideas and things like that. And collaborating, and that too when it comes to business, like women in business, it's more about empowering each other when we collaborate with influencers and people like that. So we will be able to lift each other and provide new innovative ideas, and that's what is like matters. And also, like when it comes to skincare, as you mentioned, it's like really competitive over there. So we have to empower each other in order to grow. So I've always voted for collaboration. That way we can also share the best practices and proper growth. When it comes to skincare, we have to concentrate on each and everything, including packaging, the ideas and the outcome, everything. So not only influencers, we also collaborate with our customers to get feedback from them, whether it's good or bad, like how we love to improve our products and things like that. So collaboration is very vital when it comes to any brand. For that instance, it's not just skincare, any brand for that instance, collaborating would provide a bigger space for us to grow. So I would always voting for collaboration.
Thank you, Ms. Vedachalam. And so rightly said. I mean, of course, with all the ladies here on the panel, I'm sure we all agree with you that, at least when I am going and buying my skincare products, I can understand there's so much out there available to you. And then this is where the competition begins. And then I will probably collaborate with my serum and my foundation from two different companies. So I think that is how you need to do. And as in the makeup industry, in the skincare industry, or in the beauty industry, wherein you can always collaborate with your, it has to be more B2C, with your consumers, with your customers, with your influencers. So again, you choose a very different and a parallel, shift in terms of how and with whom are you collaborating. Thank you for bringing that point for us. And now I'd like to bring on, thank you so much. And now I'd like to bring on Kiran Bhujun with us. And sir, I need to understand from you that, how can a higher university instill a feeling of collaborating in future leaders, while most of them, since their very young years, their very formative years, have been growing up with fiercely competitive world?
Thank you, Sangeeta. It's a very, very valid question. I think what we need to understand first is, what is a university? And is a university a place where young boys and young girls come in, where they get skilled for the job? I see many of you cringing. I see Madhoo cringing on my screen, because that's not true, isn't it? Young boys and young girls join a university to come out of there as gentlemen, as smart ladies, because they have a growth process when they come to university. And one of the aspects of a growth process of a university is the art of teamwork. Even though they join us as competitive students from the secondary level, at the level of a university is where we train these people to become adults, responsible adults, to be able to adapt, to adjust, and to be able to bring positive change to society. And one of the ways that we do this, and I think all of us have gone through this knowingly or unknowingly most of the time, is through what we go in school, isn't it? In university classes, group work, group projects, group activities, collaborative activities. Sometimes we'll say, let's have the students organize a freshers' night. Everybody is looking at it from the fun side of it, but we should also look at it from the perspective of getting different people with different perspective coming together and creating something which is an outcome that is acceptable to one and all. And that is the basic principle of how we expect graduates to go out in the world, isn't it? And when you look at this, therefore the outcome is not only to create qualified youth, but then also to create what I call educated youth. Somebody who can work together and produce things together. And this has been emphasized, I think, by this COVID-19 situation. We've all realized that mankind is a social animal. Men, in the general term of it, cannot be alone. does not want to be alone, doesn't like being alone. And even though I see there are many business person here, even though the business requires us to be competitive, but I think the need of the hour is, it's a new term that I was thinking about this morning, maybe it's something more to be collaborative competition. That is, compete, yes, but compete in such a way that the overall society benefits instead of having corporation benefiting out of this. And so does university produce, or does university are able to handle this situation? I think yes, because we are producing efficient people who are trained to be collaborative, even though they have the streak of individuality which makes them competitive. So yes.
Wow, I just love the way you said, that it is, competitively you collaborate, which is, so it actually creates a conducive environment. The larger picture is more about bringing out positive results, and individually we can be competitive, but when it comes to be as a team player, as an organization, yes, it is just about, it's all about the great collaboration that you have. And also depends that, who is your competition out there and whom you need to, I think we will be able to, over a period of time, as an organization, as an individual, figure that out for ourselves, that, okay, this is where I need to compete and this is where I need to collaborate. So I think that sensibility does prevail onto all of us. Thank you for beautifully bringing at that point for us. And now I'd like to invite I would like to say a thank you to sir, and I'd like to invite Dr. V. Mahajan. So sir, my question to you is, the importance of collaboration in the field of biosciences. I mean, I'm sure that, you are working with a number of different partners already. So how is it all shaping up for you? Need to understand. So we can't hear you, sir.
Well, Sangeeta, the first question seems to be a very powerful question and very sensible question. I look it in a very different perspective. Most of my panelists and our topic, which we are discussing today, collaboration and competition, I would put it rather the way Dr. Kiran has mentioned. It is more so collaboration amongst competitors is the best way to succeed the subject. Amongst instead of against. If you put amongst collaboration a competition or competition among the collaboration, the outcomes are very positive, and they will reach to the total societal concept. In today's scenario, where we are talking on the Zoom conference, I'm looking this as a global auditorium. Where earlier, before COVID, we used to come in a small room and have a association and a presentation, but this has become a more broad spectrum, global one, where I will look in this COVID as a very positive thing. In today's panelist, where I see there are educationists, there are academicians, there are basic scientists, there are doctors, there are actors, there are researchers. This is a total combination of outcoming of the best of the minds which our society can give. And this meeting of today with Stemrx, where I'm going to talk to you, will give some good message. The perspective is whether we are competing or collaborating with the current condition of today, because our topic is the need of hour, that is COVID-19. Are we looking to compete with COVID to treat it, or are we looking to collaborate with COVID to treat it? There are two perspectives of it, what I look at that. When we talk of competing with the COVID, I would say rather we are trying to make some drugs, vaccines. In fact, in my opinion, if you see in the last 100 years, we had so many viral infections. Let us take SARS, let us take MERS, let us take before that coming as a chikungunya, influenza, or regular influenza viruses. Do we have any single medicine to treat this? We really don't have. We really treat them symptomatically. See, look at it in the fact. Are we going to compete with them to kill, to produce a higher brother of COVID-19 by killing him? No. I would rather put it, why don't we make a collaborative effort to treat COVID-19? In perspective, I'm talking, there could be industry which looks into competition law separately, collaboration law separately, to bring the maintaining their individual SOPs or individual intellectual property. That's a different perspective. But when I'm as a medicine and a basic researcher, I would put my views in a current scenario. Let us collaborate with the COVID. What does it mean? See, no virus is a living being. It's an active protein molecule, RNA. It's an active molecule, it doesn't have life. It has a cover, which is a lipid. In brief, I'll tell you. The moment you break that, it becomes inactive. Now, let us talk, can we deactivate this by using your own immune systems? I'm of the opinion, instead of looking for a vaccine or a drug which is going to come down the line 2 years or more, I would say, it's not so easy job, because we have to go through multiple clinical trials before we put them to the human beings. And we all are knowing the pathophysiology of this COVID-19 is working on immune system, completely on immune activity, which is propagated to lead to hyperinflammation in the body. Now, if you see the statistic globally, which we have seen, 90% people don't die, 2 to 5% people die, and that too morbid conditions. Here, I would like to add, if their immune systems and morbid conditions were less, so I put it like our immune system for NK cells, which are preventive in our body. If you put in, I'm talking as a perspective of a biotechnologist and a basic medicine. If you improve that NK cell capacity in the body, probably this collaboration, not competition with the COVID, to improve our immune system by enhancing our NK cell potential of the body or mesenchymal cells in the body, we can very well overcome this 5% of the death rate to less than 1%, which is usually seen in influenza and other viral diseases. This is what my opinion about this. And we have been doing a lot of collaborative work with different universities, different hospitals, and different academicians. And we look at a very positive one.
Thank you, sir. This is so wonderful. And when we are talking about business and organizations and economies, here you talk about how our own body system, our own immune system can actually collaborate with the COVID, which is our immunity system. And very rightly you said, the mortality rates are so much more lower than the actual, other pandemics or other infections that have happened in the past. And that is so right. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. Other than, competing and looking for vaccines, it's important that we collaborate with our health system, with our immune system to fight this particular.
Most of our problems are solved. Instead of competing, let's collaborate and make it a collaborative competition. Rather at Stemrx, what we are doing, I'll just elaborate to you some more time. We have collaboration with various universities in US and India for collaborating the innovative products, not competitive products. You got to understand. These, which we have liked it with the AIMS, we have collaboration to bring in a molecule called as an exosomes, which will again be useful product for everyone. It's an industry where we have to see an academics, which comes out the brilliant brains. Then there is a basic researchers, which bring it the technology as the innovative, and somebody has to take it to the market, commercialization. So how do we happen this without collaboration? If they start 3 places competing with each other, in biotech or basic sciences, which works in science, I would say rather there are no boundaries, no countries, no boundaries, no religions, no institutional boundaries. If with these 3 collaborative industry, basic scientists, academics, and those we can take commercialize. Like we are commercial partners with AIMS. AIMS is a basic scientist who are making exosomes, and we are commercializing to the industry, to the public community. Like with Indiana University, there's a basic scientist where we are taking their basic scientists to take to human beings. And there is a company in Hong Kong, Stemrx, which is taking to commercialization. So we have to play multiple roles. And this happens by collaboration, not by competition. The Stemrx looks as an opportunity always to collaborate and bring out a newer version, an innovative option, a disruption. With the COVID, we require this more than competition.
Right, and so, and you know how relevantly that you made a mention of all these countries and universities who are actually, I think this is the best example for collaboration, wherein we also know US, we're working with those vaccines. We've been hearing every single day in the news, you have this country sharing the molecules here or the formulas there, and somebody's working on the later half of the vaccine, somebody's worked on the primer. So there is so much collaboration happening, and that is so right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
And with that, let me bring on our next speaker, Mr. Mahesh G Tucker. Sir, I need to understand from you that how much sense does working in collaboration make from an economic standpoint? What kind of collaborations do you suggest which will strengthen India's economic structure in the current scenario?
Yeah, thanks, Sangeeta. I think each of the earlier faculties have, brought in the need for this collaboration and competition joining together, and it's required more on the economic viewpoint as well as the financial sector which I represent. For example, today we are in a lockdown situation. Everything is slowed down. Consumption, investment, savings. What will happen 2 months, 3 months down the line when probably the situations normalize? Every entrepreneur, every businessman, every industrialist, service provider, a hawker and shopkeeper will require money for his working capital. Who will give them? In India, what happens is the finance is provided either by the banks or the NBFCs, non-banking finance companies, which cater to 20% of the consumption demand as well as the gross domestic capital formation. Today, if NBFCs do not get the funds from the banks or the institutions which Government of India or Ministry of Finance provides, then they will not be able to pass it on to the consumers and the economy will not come up. We need to come back to the normal situation within 3 or 6 months from now, for which a collaboration between banks and NBFCs is very much needed. I'll explain. What happens is every money which is saved in the country gets probably locked in the banks or the share market or the gold, etc. When it is put in the deposit with the banks are supposed to lend it further for the manufacturing service sector or the consumers. But banks are risk averse today. They are not lending it to the right people whom they should be lending. So there is another conduit, a collaboration which is required between banks and NBFCs, which NBFCs have the expertise of sourcing them, appraising them, recovering them, and go to the right mileage. Financial inclusion, which we talk, is all the more needed today between the institutions and the NBFCs, so that the money is coming to the right hand and the economy revives. Today, perhaps you are paying your bills from the past savings, but it may not be the same situation 2 months, 3 months down the line. How do you do it? Because your income sustenance is very important. Everybody is either getting charity, but that's not what we want today. We want our own earnings, and we have the self-respect. Indians are that way. And to provide money to them. So a truck operator will require 50,000, 60,000, 1 lakh immediately once he wants to come on the road. A shopkeeper will require 50,000, 1 lakh rupees to get his stocks. Who will provide all that money? Non-banking finance companies, which I represent, and government needs to see that they are provided with the liquidity from the banks. So the collaboration and competition, as we are envisaging today, is all the more needed. We are requesting the Government of India to empower the NBFCs and the banks, enrich the people, and enable them to work, carry on. Otherwise, how does the India come and take advantage of this challenge? As they said, in every challenge there is an opportunity. Here is an opportunity. Each state can provide land, labor, capital, subsidies, concessions to the industrialist, and perhaps in a competitive manner, if they do the healthy competition, people will have the reason to come up from China and move into India, establish the industries here, establish the service sectors here. We will get the job, we will get the incomes. We need to work on the huge collaboration. We have prepared a white paper which I'll be sharing with AsiaOne people, and how the whole macroeconomic view as well as the financial sector can collaborate, and banks and NBFCs competing in a healthy manner perhaps can reach the right people and fund them, and that will bring the economy up. Otherwise, we will have this slowdown after the lockdown. The slowdown will continue, which we never wanted. We want to be back on our foot, film industry or the manufacturing or the education sector. Everybody wants to come into their respective fields, come out of the house or the office and see that we are back to the work. So we need this collaboration between banks, NBFCs, Government of India institutions, and see that it's carried forward further. And the way it can be achieved, it's very easy. We are expertise in this field, and if government enables that, perhaps it will reach the great mileage. And India has a great future, as I said. We are locked down, but we're not knocked out. Okay. Thank you, Sangeeta. I think I can carry on next session.
We are locked down, but we are not knocked down. So nice. So, you are an NBFC, and you have been through your talk talking so much about the actual public sector and the government and the private sector in collaboration with each other, or the central banks in collaboration with the NBFC. So I need to understand very much in brief, when we talk about the 21 lakh crore stimuli, where does the NBFC, what is the kind of boost that the NBFC has got over there? What's very lucrative there?
So far, what the RBI and the Government of India and Ministry of Finance has done in last 60 or 2.5 months is providing, making various announcements on the liquidity. RBI announced various schemes, on the moratorium and TLTRO2, but banks are risk averse. Ultimately, RBI cannot force the banks to lend it to NBFCs. Perhaps in this critical times, we wanted banks to be more, liberal and understand that NBFCs are just intermediaries. They will pass into the rightful sector and see that the monies are recovered also well in time. So what we are requesting now to the Reserve Bank of India and the bankers and institutions, as well as the Ministry of Finance, to see that the schemes which are announced are implemented properly. Number one is moratorium, which is expiring on 31st May, may be extended for 3 months further, because the bad times continue. When we started, we never knew how long the lockdown and the corona impact will continue. Number two, one-time restructuring of all the loans. Today, for example, I have given you the loan. You may not be able to repay for 2 months, 3 months, perhaps 6 months further. So, giving in bits and pieces doesn't work. The whole 2021 financial year which we are sitting in is going to be a financial jugglery to be made. And we need to see that everybody is given sufficient time to adjust its own accounts and the priorities. And so that once we have the ability and the fancifulness of restructuring our loans, we can help our customers further. The third thing is, of course, the funding. It might come by way of bank funding or the institutional funding or the government funding, 30,000 crore and 45,000 crore. 75,000 crore has been announced by the finance minister exactly last Wednesday, but the schemes and notifications are yet to come. The government guarantees there, SPV is being done, MSME Minister Nitin Gadkari is helping us a lot. But every scheme which we are talking of must be coming forward. And once this provisioning norms and restructuring are provided and the fund is provided, we will throw the funds in the market and see that the economy revives to a great extent.
Right. So more than schemes, it is important that you infuse a lot of funds directly, because you need to keep money into hands of people to create the demand, which in turn will create a lot of movement in the economy. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was wonderful listening to you. And with that, yes, let's bring on our beautiful sunshine here, Dr. Srimathy, Kesan here. So, ma'am, thank you for listening to all of us here. And now I'd like to bring you into the conversation. Need to understand from you that what structural and functional changes are needed in early education space to make future leaders more open to working in collaborative environments.
Hey Sangeeta, yes, I think most of them have really spoken about this competitive collaboration, and I think I also will repeat like a parrot the same thing. But a little thing to just backtrack our ancient culture. If I have to talk about Indian culture, we were all in a kind of a joint family. And there was one head, and the entire family would listen to him or her, and be the woman in the kitchen or the men in business. They had one leader and the rest of them follow it. Whether the brothers and the sisters heard the leader and they were appreciative of it is a question mark. But they just followed. There was collaboration and there was work on. But now, moving generations, you have a nuclear family, you have a single child concept, and they don't understand collaboration at the first C level. In the sense, the alphabet level, they don't understand. It's all me, I. The I stands out. And more so, even the parents teach them competition right from when the child is in the womb. Oh, I taught this to my child when she was in the womb or he was in the womb. Oh my God. So it's competition filled from the womb. So what is the structure that we are talking about when the child is going to come out, and how are we going to train them to be good leaders? It's a big question mark. But now I think, Indian schools, I would say probably the international schools, but the schools in the West have started working on this collaborative system where they are even graded for that. Here in India, predominantly we work on the parent teaching the child and the parent's influence on the child. But now in most of the Western schools, what I've heard of is it's going to be completely peer. Every child, is made a leader at one point of the year, and he or she is given a kind of a team, and they work in collaboration. The individual pieces, what they work on is competitive. But when they put together the puzzle, it's collaborative. So what happens is they have to listen to the peer, they have to understand the peer, they have to succumb to the pressures of the whole system and come out with a good product. I think if we are able to nurture this at a very young age, we are definitely going to have brilliant leaders. Because politics, leaders, when you say immediately we think of politics. Well, if we are, many of the times when you have this hung politicians, when you have this hung team come up, you always think that it's going to be broken because each one has got a say to, and nobody listens to one person, or nobody listens to a collaborative comment or anything. So if this is brought in a child, we've got this, I should say, our own example. Let me show this. This is the satellite that went up, the ISRO PSLV C-44, the first ever student satellite in the fourth stage of ISRO's PSLV. Wow. And before which, this is the world's lightest and first ever 3D printed satellite made by us. And when we were making this, I put together a team. Mind you, all this was done by children. Children in the sense, the ages between 14 until 20. So my lead scientist was from a village, rural village. I picked him. And I had different categories of children coming from different backgrounds, varied backgrounds. So what happened was each individual child was extremely brilliant in her core or his core. But when I put them in a bucket, what happened was it was me, you, this kind of chaos. So that's where I understood that, if we are able to nurture these children right from childhood in a collaborative manner, I think all these energies could be synergized and a brilliant product could be brought out. So that's my say.
Wow, thank you. And how right, ladies and gentlemen, we've just heard.
Thank you, Madhoo.
Breaking down that barrier of competition and inculcating a competitive spirit, but with collaboration being the larger picture. So yes, absolutely. With that, let me very quickly bring on Dr. Bikash Sharma. So sir, time to hear it all from you. And my question for you is, what are some of the existing trends in the management world that need to change to promote collaboration, and how do you foresee the future of education sector globally and especially in India?
All right. This is basically quite an interesting question, actually. If you look into it, already you would see that there are certain changing trends which are very much visible now. One thing that you see is, what I see is what will change in the industry is the buying trend or the buying behavior of the customers. So when I say the buying behavior, I see that the online market is something that will emerge, that will emerge a lot. Even if you look into the data regarding the lockdown period, even in the first stage of the lockdown period, we had a lot of these apps being downloaded, Grofers, Big Basket, Amazon. In fact, they had a phenomenal download rates which was there. So I feel that online buying trend is something which is the future. The second thing that I see is online payments, online banking will again, we'll see a second phase of growth. We already saw it happening during the demonetization period, but now I will say that it'll pick up faster. Example being, I was just going through some data, and there's this company called Razorpay. In the first phase of the lockdown, they had a 20% increase in their download rates. So when I say download rates, I'm talking about the app download. Third important things that we talk about is collaboration. There is going to be a lot of collaboration that I feel, and more than the horizontal collaboration, I see a lot of vertical collaboration happening across the value chain, across the supply chain. Another important factor is that probably we'll see a lot of less travel happening, because I personally travel around 20 days in a month, but now I realize that I don't need to travel that much. Probably I've been wasting a lot of time traveling actually. So I know that we can manage without it. So a lot of less travel will happen. At the same time, I think this is a time when organizations need to actually, right now, I feel they need to invest a lot on market research. I feel that it is the time when they need to understand how the buyer will behave in the future, because we are currently in a different situation. And when the markets open up gradually, they have already started opening up. As they open up, we are likely to see a lot of changes. So we need to be prepared for it. So I feel that there's a lot of you need to invest in the research part. Research will again give rise to another aspect, that is probably a lot of reskilling and retraining of people is another area that I feel that will definitely grow. Basically, I have coined four terms. I call them the 4 R's. The 4 R's is that you need to research, you need to invest in research. Based on your research, you need to reboot your organization. You need to actually probably reset and restart. Third is you need to reinvent the way you are doing business, probably like moving from the offline into the online mode, which may happen. And definitely accordingly retrain and reskill your people. So that is something that I see happening a lot. I think you had a second part to your question. Actually, I missed out on that.
No, I needed to understand from the education sector globally and specifically to India that, how do we see and how do we promote collaboration?
All right. When you talk about India, if you look into from the education perspective, one thing that you'll see before we get into the details, I wanted to share something very interesting. Many people are not aware of it. Is the fact that especially when we talk about higher education, India has the 3rd largest rate of enrollment of students in the higher education sector with almost 39 million students. We have 900 plus universities. We have 39,000 plus colleges. So it's a huge market, and there's a lot of things that we'll see changing in the industry. Online education part, we see that there is a fraction towards it. Initially, we would have seen that a lot of people actually did not give the same kind of weightage when we spoke about online versus regular education. So always there was a feeling that, okay, somebody who's sitting in a university and studying is somebody who's doing good, and somebody who's doing an online, who's studying online is somebody who's just getting a degree. That is something which has gone to change, and this is something which is going to move to the next level now. Because when I talk about online education, I don't talk about education happening through Zoom or maybe through Google Meet or something like this. When I talk about online education, I'm talking about next level. I'm talking about use of technology, use of artificial intelligence. I'm talking about use of augmented reality. I'm talking about data analytics. I'm talking about the usage of big data. So there'll be definitely, when we talk about collaboration, this is one thing which will happen. We are looking at a mix of technology. We are looking at a mix of we are looking at a mix of a lot of other factors. The other thing that I see is definitely there'll be a lot of scope for something what we refer to as a blended and flexible lifelong learning. As I said, we are likely to see a lot of need for skilling and upskilling, which will mean that we will see the development of what we can refer to as a subscription-based system of education or a subscription-based university. any time of the day, I pay, I log into a university, I upskill I upskill myself, and I move out. So this is something which is going to happen in the future. And this will happen more on the technology front. This will happen more on the vocational education front. And importantly, this will be more towards short-term courses and not the long-term ones that I'm talking about. Another important thing which will happen is interdisciplinary learning. We need to understand that students actually today are a different breed, because they are no longer interested in being restricted in terms of what they are studying. They wish to explore. Our traditional system has been more about feeding everybody the same thing, but I think so this will change. In fact, interestingly, we already have one of the universities in Maharashtra, Dr. Homi Bhabha State University, which started this practice last year. So as a student, I can just get into the university, and I can take up the course as per my liking and define my own career path rather than somebody else doing it. When you were talking about collaboration, another thing that I see is probably the concept of sharing universities. When I say sharing universities, I'm talking about the fact that there are a lot of activities with universities, with educational institutes. Everybody does it, and it is a year-on-year activity. For example, something like career services, probably something like admissions, something like marketing. I will not be surprised if universities and institutions decide to combine their activities, such activities, and rather focus on their own individual strengths.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was very wonderfully elaborated for us. And now I'd like to bring our another speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jaysheela Padmanabhan. Ma'am, I need to understand from you that how can collaborative efforts actually help the end consumer in the healthcare industry?
It is that I run a company which is an IT-enabled services for healthcare. But by profession, I'm a physiotherapist. So I know, like, if you are in the practice, it is that the patient becomes the end user or the end consumer. And when I am into an IT-enabled service, the doctor becomes the end user. So in both areas, I have experience. So collaboration is what I would support, not competition in healthcare. Because what you do the best, you do it, then the results would be, whatever results you want, you can achieve that. So healthcare requires more of quality. So I would say collaboration is the need of the hour right now. Even WHO has recommended, not during this pandemic, but even before the pandemic, they have always recommended for an collaborative teamwork or an interprofessional or interdisciplinary approach in the healthcare system. So currently what most of us have is a multidisciplinary approach where every healthcare professional will have their own individual goals for their patient, and the responsibility is only towards their activity in their discipline. But now the shift is happening since the pandemic has started. We are hearing it only for the 50 days or something, but it's like almost 5 months it's been there, and globally it's been there for over 5 months. So the shift has really started to happen where people, where healthcare is moving towards collaboration than multidisciplinary approach. In collaboration, what is most important is it's very easier. You need to communicate with your team members. Easily doable. You don't have to do much of it. You need to trust your team members, and you should be able to share your knowledge and expertise with your team members for a common goal. And by sharing your experience or by problem solving, the ultimate result is going to be faster decision making, and there is going to be better healthcare provided to the patient. Apart from that, it is like researchers have also shown that by collaboration in Europe and all, they have done the research and it has shown results. It is that medical errors, we have heard about medical errors happening. It may happen, or we definitely want to prevent it. But they have also found that if these medical errors are happening, it is only because of communication gap between the different professionals in the healthcare system. So by getting into collaborative approach, this can be prevented, and research have shown that there is even decrease or in the mortality rates when teams are working in an interdisciplinary or interprofessional collaborative approach. And not just with that, if you could see Medicare, or I mean to say healthcare, it is more about waiting. So whenever we go and visit the doctor, people have to wait for longer duration. So what happens is the patient is waiting for the doctor, the physician, and the physician, he waits for the another physician consultation, and then we have to wait for the reports to come from the labs, and also like we have to wait for the radiologist to give us the report. So this waiting period, it's like a little bit frustrating for the patient, and the time that we spend, the delay that is happening, it may result in the worsening of the condition. But when we have a collaborative approach where everyone works towards a common goal, then it becomes easier, because the communication delay or the gap, it just bridges the gap. Collaboration always bridges the gap that we face, not just in healthcare, in any sector. It helps us a lot. And also, the cost can be reduced. I mean to say, if you are getting admitted in the hospital and one day earlier we get discharged, because usually discharge happens after 4 o'clock or in the evening they would do. But when there is an active communication and there is a collaborative work, the time spent is also reduced, and you get there is reduction in the cost as a consumer. And by collaboration, one stronger point that is very important, not just in healthcare but for every industry right now, is we all have an hierarchical system there. So when this competitive, the collaborative approach, when we are going to have, it will level the playing ground for everyone, where every professional will have a vital role and everyone can deliver the best of their abilities. So the end result is everyone works for a satisfaction, and you have the job satisfaction, because the consumer is happy, then the job is well done. And that is what like every healthcare professional works for.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And with that, we have quite a few questions coming in here. But before I take those questions, we just have about 15-20 minutes to end the session. Madhuji, from you, your song Dil Hai Chota Sa Choti Si Asha, it actually embodies so much of positivity. There is so much of optimism. So what are the means that you employ now in the lockdown to keep you radiating with so much of positivity?
Sangeeta, firstly, I have to tell you that right now I'm in the receiving mode. After such an enriching session, listening to such amazing minds, both my right side and my left side brain is activated. There is a lot of emotional and sentimental side that is activated, and there's so many technological numbers and those kind of terms. Like I got to understand the whole meaning of economy, moratorium, NBFCs, and how the banks should collaborate and the governments should aid the banks and the business. And then also I understood the meaning that how your immunity can collaborate with the disease itself. And then making of the satellite by little children, and how little minds can be sharpened by collaboration, by the spirit of collaboration. I am a mother. It also taught me what I should teach my children. And so I also feel in schools, we can have this whole lesson of how to harness emotion, how to teach. We are always teaching our children how to study math or how to study history. But the feelings that go with it by achievement and not achieving, firstly, we have to teach our children, I feel, that the concept of scarcity and the concept of abundance. So you don't feel that you have to grab and you have to achieve it all, place for everybody. Yeah, so that is a true sense of collaboration. Today, even in my industry, it's very often that the role that I'm vying for, forget about some competitor or a colleague, my own friends may get the role that I want. And how do I feel about that? Just because she's got the role that I want Does it mean that I become jobless? You should have that whole spirit that there's a whole platform to get something for me. So and that can be taught as an emotion. Just like we go to the gym and we train our muscles to be stronger, and we study textbooks to make our neurons or whatever to be stronger, we can also teach our emotional centers to be stronger, how to handle. Sometimes we don't know how to handle our disappointments, and from there comes our pain. So by listening to all these wonderful panelists, I have understood so much that now I have to sit and assimilate and understand. So coming to my song and the spirit of joy and hope, छोटी सी आशा, दिल है छोटा सा, छोटी सी आशा, चांद तारों को छू लूं, उड़ने की आशा. So this is basically teaching that, you can fly. And how does that come down to? It comes down to the small molecules of being the strength of in small joy. So what we basically teach our children today is how to become great, how to become big, how to come number one, but the joy is how you have that small moments that become great. You don't become great one fine day. The small steps, छोटी सी आशा, छोटे छोटे कदम हम इकट्ठा करके we achieve greatness. I think that is what we need, and that comes with collaboration, not by climbing on one upon another, but together helping each other. So these are little things that I have gathered, and this is what the song says, and this is what we should learn and we should teach. The mindset of growth mindset versus fixed mindset. When you're in the growth mindset, you have the strength to take a lot of pain, disappointments, because you know that you've climbed one small step today. You don't have to leap over the mountain top. You can climb, and that comes with collaboration, helping one another, so you climb together. So to me, this is speaking from my perspective, from my movies, from the roles that I have gained. I have hundreds of 200 actresses, to be very precise, who came up to me and who still come up to me and say that they auditioned for Roja, but I got that Roja. But there are hundreds of parts that I wanted and some others got it, but it doesn't make a difference. So you support each other, enjoy, and create a platform of unity and collaboration. And this can be taught, or at least should be the endeavor, to our children and to our young minds.
Thank you, Madhuji. While you proclaim and you claim that you've been excellent with all our panelists here, I am sure you equally have inspired each one of us. And how beautifully when you say that, yes, while we're learning from our textbook, it's important that we also teach our kids, or rather ourselves, to harness our emotions rightly. So thank you. I'm sure our speakers are completely also and equally inspired by you. Thank you for being.
I hope they are, because they are such amazing minds. I hope they agree with what I'm saying.
Let's bring on Dr. Ajeenkya. So, sir, how do you agree with Madhu on this? I wanted to pose a question, but I think I'm going to ask you that how much you agree with Madhu here.
So I completely agree with her, because she's so chirpy, she's so bubbly, and she's full of life. So I think that's what we need during this time, people who are happy and positive. And just taking a cue from that, in terms of collaboration, I know we are collaborating a lot on the social media, but I feel it's doing a certain damage in terms of giving out negative news, spreading negative news, and talking about the disease and the deaths, and a completely sort of a dismal picture. So my some learning from this is to stay away from that. I've been doing that because there are so many forward that have been done. And I would also tell others
do not stay away from the AsiaOne magazine page. We request you to keep collaborating with us. That is a request, a humble request that we would like to make to you.
Definitely. So positive news is always welcome, and such forums are very important. That they bring up a positive mindset. So a lot of learning, a lot of wisdom from everyone. And again, just taking a cue from collaboration, I'm setting up a 700-bed hospital currently in Mumbai. And we were able to commit 100 beds to COVID in a record time of less than a month, where we gave ICUs and facilities. We also had our engineering students and some of our university teachers come up with some innovation for ventilators, for 3D printing of masks. So all these ideas came out from very different people from different spectrums. So the concept is that it's not necessarily that you rely on a certain sector for the help that can come in, but there are a lot of creative and effective ideas that can come from different stratas of society. We also believed in the concept of a T-shaped professional, and we've been promoting this for quite some time in our university, Innovation University. And I believe it's even more relevant because Kiran also spoke on that, Mahajan Ji spoke on that, and many of the speakers are sort of agreeing here on a concept that in the future, people will have to be more flexible. When I speak of a T-shaped professional, is that he has a certain idea. So suppose an MBA comes into an organization, he just doesn't need to understand what marketing is. He doesn't need to understand only what finance is. He might have a degree in finance, but he needs to understand the other sectors of that organization that go like HR, marketing, human resources, and the complete spectrum of knowledge. So I think that's where universities and schools will need to evolve. And I also feel that the education system is evolving. Kesan ji spoke a little bit about how schools are evolving and international schools are working in a different concept. So many universities are offering a unique education. Many schools are offering a unique education. So it's just not about now discussing how schools should operate or how universities should operate. They're already doing it. They're on a step ahead. So things are changing, things are evolving, and this virus has again taught us that we have to quickly innovate and we have to become interdisciplinary. That's also some learning I got today. And it's a tremendous amount of data that came in to these little screens on my computer, because you learn so much in this very little time. And Sangeeta, you moderated this very well. So thank you for bringing us all together. And I just want to make my closing statements because I'm very spiritual in nature. I meditate regularly. I'm also a follower of Satya Sai Baba. And he says, and I quote, which I'll do now, that there is only one language, that is the language of the heart. There is only one caste, that is the caste of humanity. And there is only one religion, the religion of love. So I think it's time for us to get together, to work for the combined wisdom, for the combined goodness, and the combined togetherness of this humanity. Because this virus, a major threat that has been posed onto planet Earth, has really made us rethink about ourselves and how we look at others and our planet. So thank you for having me on this forum. It's excellent learning, and I feel these kind of sessions are very important, because when people are lost, people need direction. And then when people start talking, people start communicating, a lot of ideas can come, and it can give us hope. And one of the speakers also mentioned that there is an opportunity in adversity. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of new sectors that will be coming up through collaboration, through efforts. There'll be a lot of business opportunities. And let's just not look at the gloomy side, but if I were in the government, I would take Mahesh Tucker as my advisor, because he gets some wonderful advice. So you should be on that as an advisory committee, NBFC's bank. So yes, we have a long path ahead, but not all is hell and gloom. Things will work well, and we feel that the Indian economy will certainly revive much better than some of the international economies, given our ancient wisdom, our resilience, and our people's will to work for our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajeenkya. Actually, leaving us on such a positive note. That is so beautiful that you quoted Satya Sai Baba and your learnings in your actual experiences that you go through. That was very wonderfully said. And like you very rightly said, in these times of competition, we realize that it is not an individual crisis that we are facing on a larger, the entire globe. So we've actually understood that the entire, where all there is, what is the problem out there globally as well. So yes, and how we need to collaborate. Coming with that, I'd like to bring in, on Professor Kiran here. Sir, I need to understand from you, wherein we have been, at least in India, we are talking about go local, and we've also seen this in US, that America first, and all of these things that are going out into. But then how do you see that, after this particular crisis, the COVID-19, how does the world coexist in collaboration? Where is the cohabiting happening there?
Sangeeta, I think before we go there, we need to understand, after the COVID-19, do we go back to normal? I'm seeing people on Facebook saying we want to go back. But then what is it that we want to go back to? What was the world in December 2019? How great was it that we want to go back? There were wars, there were environmental problems, there were politically driven financial crises, there were leaders of countries who had ego issues. And even now, we are facing a situation where different countries are arguing about who should have priority over a vaccine against COVID that hasn't even been created.
Yeah.
We might not know maybe even if the world will exist by the time this vaccine is created, and still people are fighting over it. So I think, when we look at this, and I said this recently to somebody, I said the future is, I think we are the dawn of what I call the beginning of the beginning. And let me explain this to you. What I said the beginning of the beginning is we are at this early stage of heavy reliance on IT and technology. There was a McKinsey report of 2019 where they mentioned that in the near future, all low-skilled jobs are going to be replaced by AI. And what I feel is that COVID-19, and this is one of my colleagues here mentioned this earlier, I think COVID-19 has done nothing more than fast forward life and bring us to that brink of what the future would have been. When I look at it from the perspective of education, we already had many things. We already had online libraries. We already had online platforms. We already had blogs. We already had chats. We already had online lectures. But these were always considered as second grade, isn't it? Because we always favored the face-to-face. But now suddenly, overnight, people have swapped and said, this is the future of education. So maybe we should now start thinking of what do we do? I feel that we are about to get involved in a massive evolution, an evolution in the history of mankind, and where technology will be something that we have to get used to. And I'm proud to say that being part of Amity, I'm doing a little bit of advertising here, but being proud of Amity, at least we are part of that group that is helping to train, but not only train, but reskill the youth and reskill professionals into the market. Now, let me explain out a little bit on this. So what I'm saying is now is the time to grab the opportunity. I was listening to a speech by Nobel Prize winner, Professor Yunus yesterday, and he said something very interesting, and I mixed it with another quote. The Britishers usually say, and I wrote it down to be able to remember it properly, the Britishers says necessity is the mother of invention. And yesterday, Professor Yunus said something very interesting. He said, yes, but fiction is the father of future reality. Whatever we thought 10 years back was fiction is today's reality, isn't it? And if we want to create a better world ahead, maybe we should start dreaming and then working and making that dream come true. And that can happen if the education sector, government bodies, or higher authorities collaborate and bring in money in research. We are at the stage where we see that, where we are saying low skills jobs are going to be eliminated and replaced by AI. Examples being delivery. Examples being accountancy. They're saying accountants will be replaced by computers and AI doing the job. Yes, fine. But the education sector should be there to, and will be there to reinforce the system and reskill these people to do something else. Even if you are doing AI, they need people to code those AI, isn't it? And this is something that I think we should be able to do. And the same way we're going to say we're going online. Going online implies having an internet connection. Today, this is magic, isn't it? That we are all here and we're all talking to each other. But can you imagine what would have happened if we did not have this?
Absolutely.
And at the same time,
absolutely.
And at the same time, we need to make sure that if we want to push forward on education, how do we have an equity of access? How can we ensure that all those people who are in the most remote areas equally have access? And this is where we need to get people, different organizations collaborating to work on this. And I think I'll just end on one note there. And I said that there's a saying in Africa, which says, because Mauritius is part of Africa, isn't it? Which says that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. I think where we are right now, each of us should be going fast to compete against each other and create something. But the minute we are able to create this, then if we need to move to the next stage of evolution or the next stage of mankind history, we need to work together. Thank you, Sangeeta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I have a question here, and any of my panelists can take that. It could be Mr. Mahesh Tucker or Dr. Vikas, whoever would like to take. So, there's somebody who's talking about 5 biggest employee generators in the country. The service sector contributes to 50% to the GDP. Aviation are the largest generator of jobs and are completely ignored by the government in infusing funds in other sectors apart from this. So the service industry that contributes a good 9% in the GDP, how to promote travel within India now that all of us have gone so comfortable with online. And we just heard one of our speakers saying that, he just realized that, there was no need to travel, but then how there are so many other affiliated industries, and how do we take this forward? So Mr. Mahesh Tucker, would you want to talk on this to us?
Yeah, thanks. Since the manufacturing sector was down some few years back, government envisaged the idea of Make in India. And it takes a lot of time for the manufacturing sector to come up because it requires huge investment, partnerships, and the skills, which we require. That was not forthcoming. In the meantime, India went ahead with the IT sector and the services sector in a big way. All the service sector minds were working very well. Now you talk of the hospitality industry, the film industry, the real estate industry, financial sector, the travel, etc. are down all today because of the lockdown. We need to understand the difference between what Prime Minister has said. How do we see that everybody comes back on the job? Once they come back on the job, perhaps there are better opportunities available and the newer opportunities. The tourism within India, there'll be more emphasis on cleanliness, hygiene, carefulness, etc. That will bring a good business for all of us. Hotels and hospitality will have to see that every food they serve, because till yesterday we were not bothering about the pollution, cleanliness, and the hygiene. Now every one of us will be careful. The small or the big person will have the sanitizer in every room, every office, every public place where we visit, So we need to see how the economy comes up. The service sector needs to be. Now what you need is, one is the subsidies and concessions which should come forth, and then it should start. Today everything is locked down. I expect that post 31st May, with all the due precautions to be taken, the lockdown is lifted and people are given advice and suggestions on how to go ahead with the situation and be very, very strict with those who break the rules. For example, your social distancing norms. But once the lockdown is removed, perhaps within 2 or 3 months, all industries might come back to more than 60 or 70% of the normal situation, and perhaps the better opportunities may prevail with the better sense. So, of course, the support from the banking industry, Reserve Bank and the Government of India is needed for all the service sectors. We have represented from the real estate sector, financial sector, and today morning I was chatting with Poonam Dillon, who is an entertainment committee chairman of the IMC. We are talking to Prakash Javadekar ji for all the assistance which is needed for the film and the event management industry. How otherwise we may not be able to come for 6 months. How to start a shooting, with all the due precautions. The note has been prepared, which we are submitting to the minister, and we have been chatting with. We can invite Prakash Javadekar ji here also on AsiaOne and take the guidance from him. And all sectors will come back to a good level with the better norms and better understanding of the people by the people. And let's always be optimistic. The tough times do not last. Tough people do, and we Indians are tough people, and we will come back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And as you said, getting Mr. Javadekar here, and it will be wonderful if you can collaborate that for us. We'd love to have both of you all together.
I will help in that. I'll help in that.
Really brilliant for us to have him join. And with that, friends, like I said, we're running out of time. So very quickly, a minute from every speaker that I'd like to say. Thank you, Mr. Thakkar. Thank you so much. So let me start with Dr. Srimathy. Ma'am, since I've not spoken to you again, so very quickly, I want you to say a little more about this particular competition and collaboration on the series. Ma'am, I can't hear you. Ma'am, can't hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I thought I would just sum it up because I know I come from a space industry, and space industry is the last industry that most people think they have to invest their money. So I thought we are going to have a lot of discussion, but I know paucity of time, we are not able to. But I would really love to sum up with a positive quote saying, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is the difference that we have made in somebody else's life. So hopefully we all make that little bit difference in somebody's life, and collectively we take our country forward, because people kept saying that our country is the third world country. And now I would say there are a lot of opportunities coming up, and we need to seize the opportunity, and we need to move forward in such a positive way. Forget COVID, forget all the negativity. We are gonna rock. Jai Hind.
Thank you. We are going to rock. With that, Mr. Sudheer, last and final words from you, please, sir. Sir, I can't hear you.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I am very happy to participate in this AsiaOne with all panelists, very experienced people. We are in mining industry, and this is a different subject: education, healthcare, and cinemas and skincare. I got very good knowledge. Is a very experienced. Thank you all.
Thank you. And with that, Jahnsi ma'am, your final words and maybe a tip on skincare while we are all in lockdown.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And also, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank people who have put their life and risking their life in front line. Doctors, nurses, essential workers, and also collaboration is more about helping each other. So not many of us would be blessed enough to stay at home. There could be people with abusive husbands, parents, and people who are addicted. So collaboration is more about helping each other. So if you come across any situation, do help people like those. So it will be like really life changing for those people. And I'll also like to thank everybody who's like working 24/7 in finding a cure for this product. And in terms of skincare, yes, you can take a lot of steam, and since it is summer, apply a lot of SPF in order to avoid any sort of skin damage. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, hi. See, I'm from the education sector, and probably I would like to end on a very, very positive note as far as our industry is concerned, that is the education sector. Unlike a lot of sectors where people have been talking about the recession, slowdown, etc., I feel that our sector is something which will see rather it'll see a growth. We will not actually see the recession. One thing which may happen is that one thing which may happen is probably the semesters may get extended, but we have an advantage. In India, we have a single intake, which means that our sessions may get extended, but we will not lose the session. Second thing that I see is that a lot of students this year will not travel abroad. Our estimate is there will be 60% less students traveling abroad, which means the art sector has a bigger pie to handle in terms of students. Now, with technology getting involved, I feel that we will be able to expand and reach to greater lengths. So for us, I feel that it's a good situation to be in. Thank you.
Dr. B.B. Mahajan.
In fact, to take home message from today's panelist is one thing I could say. Most of them have a brilliant thought process, and ultimately, if you see the collaborative effect of all of them, is collaboration. Competition creates a problem. Each of these, if you see, the second most positive message which I would take rather, when we talk of reviving, because we are in a very, very crisis situation. When you are talking of reviving, forget of my subject of biotechnology, but overall, Mahesh has spoken a very wonderful thing. When we revive now, we revive ourselves changed. So as the entire industry will change, the productivity will change, the attitude will change, the entire, you can see the same things will come, but different looks. You are as a personality, you will change your look toward the society, your habits, your culture, your business policies. You're looking at towards competitor, everything will change. The outcome, COVID will give a very positive note. giving up December 19, which was a fighting year, then environmental problems, those will go away and add a new quality of our life. I would say rather this is the most powerful take-home message.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Ms. Padmanabhan. Ms. Padmanabhan, Jashila ma'am, if you could.
So I would like to say to the startup entrepreneurs that do not give up. Things will change to normal, and just hold on for some more time here. And also to the bigger companies and all, our request is you have your CSR programs and all. So think about giving the CSR programs in the rural areas, creating awareness for the COVID, to come out of this and all, because one day, because of the social workers and the community helpers, we were able to eradicate polio and all, and our country is more of rural. So every one of us, when things are normal, should consider more CSR activities towards the rural people. And thanks for the opportunity. And I know everything, this will pass. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all of you. Thank you so much. It was so enriching listening to you. Thank you for really looking at the entire WebTalk Series 9 for us. It was wonderful. A big thank you on behalf of AsiaOne. A big thank you to all our attendees who are watching us, and keep watching for this series. And once again, just to let you know, our new TV series in collaboration with CNBC TV. Just keep watching this space. It begins from 30th of May 2020, and with that, my learning from this wonderful series is that yes, while we completely enjoy the competitive spirit, which was actually we should also make sure that we have a culture wherein we collaborate, we associate, and we talk forward. Thank you all of you for joining us here. It was wonderful to have you.
Big applause for Sangeeta. Sangeeta, big applause for Sangeeta.
Let's really collaborate. Let's not lose out on this network and this connect that we have kind of built together. And we'd love to have you back on the series. Thank you all of you for sharing your mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pleasure, Sangeeta. Thank you.